Hello and welcome to In Pursuit of. Today I have a guest with me who teaches young children an Olympic recognized sport called Ultimate Frisbee. Now I'm keen to know what kind of social impact is created with teaching this sport. So welcome Benoy, welcome on our show, and I want to know what you are in pursuit of.
So, we are in pursuit of creating equitable opportunities for young people from marginalized backgrounds.
How do you use Ultimate Frisbee for that? What does your organization do?
So, at Y Ultimate, we use Ultimate Frisbee as a tool to help children and youth. The sport is self refereed, non contact, and a team sport which is played in a mixed gender format. We use this platform to help children realize how does self-regulation, conflict resolution, respectful communication, and an aspect of gender sensitivity gets built. Through this, as they grow in the sport, their sense of self-worth grows, the belief in what they can do, their aspirations grow, they become peer leaders and then youth role models to help the next generation.
Wow, that's like a lot of stuff. You mentioned, self confidence, respect. These are such intangible things. So, how
Yeah.
do you measure this?
Yeah, I mean, measuring impact here is very hard for sure because what we are building is life skills and it has different aspects to it. A lot of it is going to come through probably 15 years later as these young people grow into young adults and lead their own lives. But from a quantitative perspective, we use Dreamer Dreams Life Skill Assessment Scale, which is an observer rated scale. It is also peer reviewed and published in journals. So there are 5 key observable life skills. It ranges from managing conflict, interacting with others, following instructions. And that becomes, we conduct this when we start our program and at the end of our program in a year. So it becomes our end line and baseline. But our real impact is actually the people, the children, the journeys they have been, and those children growing to young adults and working with us to work with the next set of people. And yeah, like it's their stories which are our real impact.
Which, when you say children who grow up to be young adults, and then do they always work with you or do they get other jobs? What happens?
If I grew up in a privileged background, I might have multiple people who are there in my life who give me opportunities for me to grow. However, when we work with young people from marginalized background, those opportunities are missing. So when you get those opportunities, you can choose what you want to do with it. So some of our young people, as they finish school when they are 17, they get to come back and work with us as a youth facilitator and help the next set of children by passing on the learnings that they had and do what they love, which is the sport. There are people who have been with us and transitioned out to have their own careers in whatever fields they would like. They would go all out. There will be a limitation down the line where, because the number of children we are working with, not all of them can become coaches. So we do have a kind of mentoring process that we run in our communities where we identify who a good peer leader would be, which is not a matter of skill. It is just a matter of how empathetic are you.
Attitude.
Yes. Like what is their situation and how much desire do they have to work harder than what is required. And they come into our program as youth coaches and then they coach the next community. So they get a stipend there that can fuel their aspirations and continue their education. Because most of the children that we work with, almost all of them actually, parents are not going to be able to afford a college education. Like school education is free, but sadly, in a few years, just passing school won't be enough for them to move up to the next strata. So having a college degree is so important. And for them to pursue that, you need money. And access to that opportunity is hard. So this becomes the opportunity that fuels them.
Wonderful. So, Benoy, could you explain how your program runs in a bit more detail?
We have 3 big programs right now. The first program is GK MAD, which is the club team that our first set of beneficiaries have come together to create. And this becomes a platform in pursuit of excellence. So like really committed players get an opportunity to represent a club and play the national championship. So the mentoring of these players, coaching these players on and off the field, which means how do you technically build your skill as well as how do you regulate yourself, manage yourself, it's like a 24/7 program. It's a very high touch program, but this is also what is the aspiration for the other children we work with. So that brings us to a second program, which is the life skill program that we run, which we run in communities which are largely slums in Delhi NCR or shelter homes. We run this as an after school activity, and we are also intervening in a few schools as an in-school program during physical education periods. Here, what we do is we have a 5-step framework where our sessions are conducted with a opening circle, we warm up, there are a few drills, there are multiple conversations that happen. So we let children play. So if you ask any of these children, nobody would say life skill. They will say, I'm going to play Frisbee, and that's exactly what we want. They're just coming to play, and through that, they want to play better. Then we have conversations on how can they do that better, how can we work together as a team, address the biases that we have, like talk about the discriminatory behaviors that are ingrained in us unknowingly. So that's what our life skill program does. And children from these programs also have an opportunity to join GKMAT down the line. And the third program is an consultancy wing, where if there is another organization, another individual anywhere in India who wants to kind of replicate what we do, we are happy to support them. Might be a short-term program, long-term program, designing curriculum or creating events.
Very nice. But now, first, you have to explain to me what happens in Ultimate Frisbee, which makes it so unique and different from other sports.
Yeah. So it is a team sport. It is played mainly in a mixed gender format. But more than these two aspects, the key differentiator for this sport with any other sport, it is self-refereed, which means that there is no umpire or a referee or a third umpire to say what is right or wrong. There is no red card and yellow card. There are a set of rules which are made. It is revised every 3 years with a global discussion on public forums. And these rules, every player is expected to learn these rules and administer these rules, which means when you're playing, it's usually a 7-side sport on a grass field and 5-a-side on beach. So you have 14 players who are referees.
All players.
All players are referees, right? So if there is a breach of the rule, it is your responsibility to call it out. When you call it out, which is only if you know the rules can you call it out.
Sure.
And when you call it out, you call it to the person who breached the rule, and everybody else freezes. So there is a framework called Be Calm, which is something we use as well. It is called breathe. Whenever there is a problem, first you breathe. Then you explain what the problem is. Consider the other side. So now you have explained, you have considered, but if you're confused, you can ask anybody else, hey, did anybody else see a different perspective that I didn't see? And then you listen to all these perspectives, your perspective, your opponent's perspective, whoever gave perspective from outside, and then you finally make a decision. So it's breathe, explain, consider, ask, listen, and make a decision.
Oh, amazing.
So this is the conflict resolution tool we have within the game, and it is non-contact. So you're not in this fear of
hitting someone or getting hurt.
Yeah, if there is a contact, it is a foul.
Oh.
So
that's hard in such a fast-paced game.
Yes.
Frisbee is a fast-paced game.
Absolutely. And that's where you have to now regulate yourself. Okay, you're trying to go for the disc, but you're going to have a collision. It should be your spirit of the game or how much of a sportspersonship you have inside you for you to regulate yourself to play by the rules.
Amazing.
And yes, it is played by humans, so there are people who will violate the rules. But there are these circles called the spirit circle, which happens at the end of each game, where both teams come, sit together and have conversation about how the game went, the problems in the game, so that it is not about identifying who did the mistake. It's about what do we do better next time so that we have a better experience.
I'm sure this filters down into the daily life at some point.
Yes. So this, like when you keep regulating yourself, when you are fair-minded about, irrespective of whether it is favorable for you or for your opposition, if you can do what is right and you get appreciated for doing that. And for children, it's great, right? You crave for some kind of recognition, appreciation, and acknowledgement. And when you hear, when we conduct our sessions and in the spirit circles, our coaches try their best to appreciate moments of good spirit over good skill. So children are like, oh, maybe tomorrow I should also offer water to my friend, or like it's okay if I let go of the disc because I did that. That was the right thing to do. And these things unknowingly then seep into their life and it becomes habit. And then that helps them move ahead in life.
As an organization, there must be some unique challenges. I mean, this is a very unusual way to get into social emotional learning.
One of the biggest challenges is that we have a sport for development approach to life skills. And we use a sport called Ultimate Frisbee, which we took quite some time to explain the sport. Most of the people will be zoning out by the time we can
Really?
explain Ultimate Frisbee. Because, so if I say we do this through football, nobody's asking me what is football. They're asking me about the program, right? I have to first explain
The game
the
to
game.
people.
They'll have like how many people are playing, how's the field size, okay, then what happens if this happens. But we do this because we believe in the value of the sport. From a funding perspective, what we are doing is education, primarily life skills education through sport. So sports is like the lowest part in CSR funding.
Really? You
And
think so?
yeah, and Ultimate Frisbee is
Even lower?
yeah.
That's really too bad, actually.
Yeah.
But I'm sure people are becoming more aware of it, and there are funders who focus a lot on sports. So I
Yeah.
think about being able to crack that.
Yeah. And we are in pursuit of that.
Okay, in pursuit of cracking that CSR funding. So Benoy, how did you start Y Ultimate?
Y Ultimate, although we registered 4 years back in 2019, we kind of started in 2015. So I was in my last year of undergraduate studies at St. Stephen's College and got introduced to the sport. And I really loved the sport for the values it has. And by chance, I got an opportunity to meet a bunch of kids in Zamrudpur at this park in GK. And seeing the sheer effort that they were putting in was amazing. I could go play a tournament without thinking twice. But for these children, playing was not something which came easy. So there were lot of these costs associated. So few of us as friends in 2015 informally started Y Ultimate as a way to support these children so that they can play and develop themselves. That's what started, and over the years it has evolved based on the needs of those first set of children. And yeah, they are our backbone of the organization as coaches and staff today.
So nice talking to you, Benoy. Stay with us because I'm going to ask Benoy about his insights and journey while running Y Ultimate.